Hey y'all, on today's show, we celebrate Jennifer's 1,000 member milestone.
Welcome to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, where life always comes before work. We're your hosts, Shane and Jocelyn Sams. We're a real family that figured out how to make our entire living online. And now, we help other families do the same. Are you ready to flip your life? All right, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today, again this week, again this year, this decade. This is the first episode of 2020, and we are really super pumped up. This is going to be a great year for us, for you, and everybody inside the Flip Your Life community, and especially for our amazing guests. We are welcoming back to the show Jennifer Bradley. Jennifer, welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast.
Thanks for having me again. I'm so excited to be on it again.
Jennifer is one of my favorite people on the planet Earth because she is an action taker. If you tell Jennifer to do something, she will probably have it done in 30 minutes. So you need to listen to everything that Jennifer says today, because this is how you build a successful online business.
And Jennifer's actually coming on for a second time. She was on about a year ago in November of 2018. So if you're interested in checking out her other podcast, it is number 260. So fliplifestyle.com/podcast 260, and you can hear what we discussed with Jennifer about a year ago.
Now, Jennifer, a lot has changed in your life in the last year, in the last 2 years inside the Flip Your Life community. So, we want to rewind a little bit because it's been a while since you've been on the show. So tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you kind of got into online business in the first place.
Well, I am from Michigan. I have 3 little kids, and I am married. And when I started out as a speech language pathologist, and I started working in a low-income school. So I had no materials. I started making my own. I really enjoyed that process of creating my own materials. And in 2014, I stumbled upon Teachers. It's just a third-party site to sell your materials for teachers and speech therapists and other people. So I started selling on there in 2014 and then stumbled upon your guys' podcast and decided to create a membership and started my own membership with those same materials from TPT. Started that in July of 2017.
So basically you said, hey, I'm making something. These work. I can't find them. Maybe somebody else will want these. Right? So you go on to Teachers Pay Teachers, this third-party marketplace. Now, when you sell things on there, you don't get to keep all of it, right? They take part of the money. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So they take 20% of your sales.
Okay, right. So if you sell something for, $2, you get $1.50 or whatever, right? And it's just individual sales. You're in this marketplace competing with other teachers. Then you find the Flip Lifestyle Podcast and you start your own membership site. Now, how hard was that in the beginning when you first started out? Like when you got into it, you heard this on the podcast, you wanted to do it yourself, you joined the Flip Your Life community. Like, was it overwhelming? Was it hard? Like, what got you into, like, why a membership site as opposed to just selling on Teachers Pay Teachers?
My husband and I had talked a lot, and we've heard a lot of business advice to not trust any other company and not solely focus on building on somebody else's platform.
Yeah.
So we had talked about starting a membership, and I kind of put it off. And then finally, I started listening to you guys, and I decided, like, this is something I need to do just in case for the future, if something happens to teachers, to have this steady income on my own. And it was really hard in the beginning to get my mind wrapped around, like, this is mine. I need to be the sole person starting it and putting it together and all the tech stuff. But then once I dove in, it wasn't really that hard. I think I was making it more than the actual steps were. Like, the actual process was not as bad.
And you were working in schools at the time, right? When you started your Teachers Pay Teachers site, right?
Yeah, I was working 3 days a week because I had at that time not a newborn. He was like 6-month-old and a 3-year-old. So part-time working, part-time momming, and then doing this
part-time. You're pretty much a quarter of everything. Quarter mom, quarter in the school, quarter in your membership site, quarter in Teachers Pay Teachers, and all of that.
And a lot of people are happy with that. There are a lot of people out there selling on Teachers Pay Teachers. They're making a nice side income. and they're totally happy with that. But then there are other people who are more entrepreneurial like us that say, you know what, this is nice, but I think I could make this into something a lot bigger.
And for all of our listeners out there, I want you to kind of keep, I've got a list here. We may have talked a little bit off air. We know Jennifer pretty well, so we had a little conversation. But I want you to keep up with the years. This is a very interesting story, not just because it's leading to somewhere quite extraordinary, because you started like dabbling online in 2014. It's 2020 now. I mean, this is 6 years ago where you start selling your first couple of products. Fast forward, you just said in 2017 is when you launched your membership site, and now we're all the way here, even in 2020. We're going to talk about that. So let's rewind a little bit. I just want everybody to hear that because it takes time to be success, right? Like everybody that looks at you now like, oh, overnight success, right? Like, wow, that you're doing really well. But it takes a long time to get to the really well part. So when you launched your membership site in 2017, how many members did you get out of the gate? Like, how did that go?
Out of the gate, I got 15. I had an email list from TPT, but it was a pretty cold email list because I wasn't really emailing them as much as I should. And so I had a little bit of a following when I launched. So I got 15 right out of the gate.
And what did you think when you got your first members? Like, how did that feel? Like, was it like, wow, people really want this? Or was it like, oh, only 15? Like, what was like, how did you feel about that?
I think it was a combination of everything because it was really exciting to have my first members. But then I was like, oh, I could always do more and I should have gotten more because I'm that type of person that's super hard on myself. And then at the same time, it was also terrifying because I was solely in charge of the membership. And so like they had any tech issues or I wanted to keep them happy. I had all these thoughts going in my head. Okay, now I actually have members, so I need to, this is it. Like it's real.
Yeah, the pressure starts mounting up at that point. I totally can relate to that. I have had all of those feelings. And actually, I still have all those feelings.
Yes.
Now, so.
Yeah. Jocelyn, I think at least once a week, like we have a talk about that pressure of like, I don't know how to put it. It's not like you're the leader, but it's also like you're like the provider it's like it's your village and you're the mayor. Right. And like it's your job to make sure everyone's plumbing keeps working. And that if their house catches on fire, you have to send the fire truck to put the fire, right? Like, it's like you take this responsibility and this weight because not only have people given you money, but you've made these promises.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it still weighs on me today, you know, like even in our community, there are sometimes I'm just like, you know what? All of these people are depending on me so much and I don't want to let them down, but I don't really know if I can do this. You know, I have these thoughts pretty much daily.
Yeah. So, I don't think they ever go away.
They really don't. And like, the question that we always get asked is, how do I get over that? Right? Like, oh, how do I get past this? How do I get over that feeling, this pressure? And it's like, that's kind of what you signed up for, pal. Right? Like, if you want the reward, you have to bear the weight of the cross, right? Like you've got to take it on you and say, you know, I want the reward, I want the money, I want the accolades, or I want the whatever you're trying to get. That's part of the deal. And it doesn't, you don't get to ride the ride for free. Like it just doesn't happen that way.
And it's totally worth it. It's just, you have to, I guess, get used to it after a while. Like that's just the feeling that goes with it.
Yep. It's just, you know, it's a burden, but then it's like, it's a necessary burden, I guess you would say.
Right.
And I think it's the nice things that people have to say that really carry us through. It's like on those really hard days, you just think about, oh, well, you know, if I hadn't have been here, then I wouldn't be talking to Jennifer right now or whatever, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to remember those things, the good things about the journey.
And I think yours is interesting too, because your resources help kids with speech problems, right? And like, you're not the one doing the work with the kid, right? But you can fall back on that a little bit and be like, oh my goodness, like I've got a lot of people using these resources. That means hundreds and hundreds of kids on a daily basis are moving forward in their life, right? Not even counting the teachers or the speech language pathologists that are not as stressed out because you've taken 10% of that weight off of them and put it onto you so that they can have their life and enjoy their family and do better at their career.
Yeah, it's a really great feeling when you get those messages from people that my student who wasn't progressing made progress on this because of this. So, and it brings you kind of back to, okay, this is worth it.
Yeah, I've started printing out good messages. Like in our success forums right now, we have I think we're at 1,300 success stories right now
Wow.
in our success forums, and like I've started printing them out, and I want to hang them all over our office. We've got like a house that we use as an office on the other side of town, and I want to hang them all because the other day I was having like a really bad day about 2 weeks ago, just where everything was going wrong. Kids are a disaster.
Yeah.
Everything's a disaster. Me and Jocelyn were probably having a disaster fight. It was whatever it was. Everything was a disaster that day. And I just started reading all the good things that people had sent us, like emails and messages, and like, okay, this is worth it, right? And even like looking back at your social media, like at your kids and like good things you've done when you feel like you're a failure as a parent and all that stuff.
Yes.
It's amazing how that can flip the script in the moment. So like. Yeah, like printing that stuff out. Hey, how long did it take you? Okay, so we're in July of 2017. How long did it take you to get to 100 members? I don't remember.
I want to say I got to 100 members around November of 2017.
So July, August, September, October, November. So it took you 5 months to grind. And we always use that hundreds. There's nothing really special about the number 100 when it comes to 100 members, but that's our goal because kind of our mindset is always like, well, if you had 100 people that were paying you every month, you would have plenty of money to invest and be secure and grow your business, right? And like, and there is something just magical when you get that 100th member, So like, what did you do during that time to grow it? Because you went, that's a pretty good clip, but it's still 5 months to go from 15 to 100. Like, what did you do during that time? Were you just really prolific? Did you just start growing your list? Like, how did you do that?
I kind of dove into every type of marketing I could just because it was back to school time also. So it helped with that growth. So I knew I had just this smaller amount of time to really grow fast and then slow down a little bit after, around Christmas.
Right.
So I did a lot of Facebook ads to grow my email list, and did the, cold, warm, hot audience ads. And to at least grow the email list. And then I started really marketing to my email list a little bit more, talking about not only my TPT resources, giving them good content like blog posts and stuff, but then on top of that, always in the PS line selling the membership.
Jennifer, it's almost as if you took our courses and actually did them. It's almost as if you actually went into the Flip Your Life Blueprint and did it. Some people get frustrated. I know, right? We get frustrated with people because they're like, what do I do next? And we're like, what'd you watch last?
I paid the money. Like, why isn't this working?
Why isn't this working?
Right.
This miracle salve you rubbed on my arm.
Have you watched a single course? No.
No, and I'll tell you another thing. Like, you have always been very active asking questions.
Yes.
And then not only asking questions, but doing them, whether it's been in the community or on member calls or working one-on-one with us. I always look over Jocelyn. I'm like, I wish everyone would do exactly what Jennifer does because she takes action. Like you really are like the model person for what we teach. It's a lot like what we did. Like we would learn something on Tuesday and then we would not sleep until it was done by Thursday. Right. And then all of a sudden we would get a result. And that's like, people want to know the magic ingredient. Like that's kind of it. Like you said, the cold warm. I love how you said you grew your email list with ads, which is exactly what you should be doing. And then you email marketed to your email list because they were warm enough to ask to buy something.
Right.
But then you went into like cold, warm, and hot ads. Like, what do you mean by that?
So cold audience are people who haven't heard of me, aren't on my email list or anything. And then my warm audience was to get them onto my email list, got them on my email list, and then selling to my hot audience. So people who've already kind of bought from me on TPT and knew me and liked me and trusted me. So that was my hot audience.
And those are the people most likely to buy, basically. Right. Because they're the warmest and they're active and all that. And surprisingly, that is a course that Jocelyn has inside the Flip Your Life community. It's Jocelyn's cold, warm, and hot ad strategy. So
it is.
Go figure.
And it's not rocket science, It's like you pinpointed your audience, you gave them what they were looking for, they decided to trust you, and they became your member.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And what was funny, I remember when Jocelyn made that course, Cold, Warm, and Hot Ads, and we were kind of looking at like how we spent money and kind of the theories behind it and stuff like that. And what are the percentages? Is it
it's like 60, 30, 10.
60, 30, 10. So 60% of your ad spend is on cold. And what'd you say, 30? Jocelyn handles that. 30% on the warm ads, which is like uploading your email list or people that have been to your website. And then like 10% just like buy my thing. It's just the hottest people that you've got. And those numbers are not like some magic numbers are perfect. When she was creating that, she was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go with that. Because if they would just do that, they would be better, right? Like it's a sliding scale, you know? And but you did it and you got the results. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And I think that if you look at the end results, it's overwhelming to think everything you have to do. But I think if you just take that next course, that was kind of what I told myself. Just do the next thing and don't worry about what's the end, because then it's super overwhelming.
I was just talking, a member of my mastermind was like really like overwhelmed this morning. And basically he was on a walk to take a phone charger to his mom or something. And he was telling me all these things. We were talking back and forth on the Voxer app. And he was like, I just don't know what to do. I got so many things I got to do. And I'm like, man, what are you doing next? You're walking to take the cord to your mom's. Then worry about the next thing, right? Because if you think of the whole list, it can crush you. But if you think of that, it won't, right?
And you guys kind of kept me on track, because I kind of was sometimes I'm kind of like this person who sees a new shiny object and does that. So having to focus on just the next step.
I thought you were about to say I was a hot mess. I thought you were about to say that.
I'm always a hot mess.
You're a mom. You got 3 kids.
I actually have a sign in my office that says hot mess.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to fast forward just a minute. So you got 100 members around November of 2017. Okay. So in 2018, Joss and I had our first live event. Flip Your Life Live 2018. And you decided you're going to come to this event, correct? All right. Yeah. So I remember you working furiously, absolutely furiously, before the first live event that we did, the big one.
Well, that's an expectation that we have. You know, when you sign up to a live event of ours, it's not like you just sign up and show up and hope everything works out. We're like, no, we want you to get something really big done before you get there.
Yeah, this is not like party trip. This is not like I'm going to go network and have fun. Like, we're going to have fun, but we're going to get some stuff done too. And that, whether that's our, small in-person masterminds that we do or big events like Flip Your Life Live, we were like, hey, set a big goal, for the event. So what was your goal for Flip Your Life Live 2018?
My goal was 300 members by the conference. And I remember thinking this is impossible, because I think it was around April that I set that goal. And at that time, I only had maybe 115, 120, because I hadn't grown a lot the second half of the school year. So I remember thinking this is impossible, but they said to set an impossible goal. So I did it. And I was scared to death to even write that down.
Actually put it on paper and make it real.
Yeah, because to me, if it's on paper, it's real.
For sure.
So, yeah, it was scary.
But that's the perfect kind of goal. People say that if your goal doesn't scare you a little bit, then it's probably not big enough.
Yeah, I've actually even heard people say set a goal and double it. Like like if you set 300, it's 600, right? Like just go crazy with it. But so did you reach your goal? Did you reach your goal?
Yes, it was actually during the conference that I hit 300.
I know.
It was super exciting. I kind of did my own little excitement dance by myself when I saw it on my phone.
Yes. And I believe we celebrated at the conference because it was exciting.
We did after, yes.
Yes, we did. So, I mean, so let's look at the journey. Let's just stop again and look at the timeline here. 2014, you realize people will pay you for stuff you create and know, right?
Yes.
So you start selling these one-off things on Teachers Pay Teachers. You start building a little business over there. It gets bigger, but then you're like, wait a minute, these teachers, I don't own this platform. They could change the way they pay me. Anything could happen. And then I stumble across this podcast of these 2 country people from Kentucky, and they swear there's memberships. So if you just get 50 people to give you $100, right?
Right.
And so you launch your membership with 15 members. That's 3 years after selling your first products online.
Yes.
And then a year later, actually it's about a year and a half later, you get to, 5 months later, you get to 100 members. And then about a year later, you get to 300 members, right? Yes. This is real money, right?
Yes.
This is actual, real money in your pocket. It was 300 members? Was it making 5 figures a month at that time?
Yes, it was making, I think it was 5 figures a month. I just hit around that time that I hit 300.
So it took a while, right? You
Mhm.
started your online journey in 2014, but in 2018, you've reached this point where you've got 300 real human beings from around the country and the world, maybe, sending you money, making over $10,000 plus a month. Like, what are you thinking coming out of Flip Your Life Live when this happens? Like, how did your goals change? How did your mindset change? Like going forward, like, because now it's like, does this stop? Like, what's
Yeah.
the limit, right?
It's kind of like it was a crazy mental journey because I started the TPT journey and, I was making good money on TPT, like decent money on TPT, but it was 5 figures a year. And I originally started the membership just to be safe, just have a safe extra thing. And it was second to my TPT store.
Like it was the net, basically.
Right. It was just kind of like just in case. And then this membership thing grew to where, okay, as of last year, it's like, okay, wait, this is actually making me a lot more than TPT is. And so I had to kind of do a whole mindset about doing a membership and focusing on that more than TPT, which was crazy because TPT was kind of like my baby that I had been really nurturing for so many years. And then all of a sudden, this thing that just came out a year ago was all of a sudden overtaking that.
Right. And like, I know exactly the mindset shift you're thinking because I remember in July 2013, Jocelyn? I think it was, yeah. I get confused if we started in 2012 or 13 all the time. I get confused. It's like how you think the 80s is still 20 years ago. I don't know why we think that, but it's like my brain is like all messed up. But like I remember in July of 2013 when we hit 5 figures, I was like, that's impossible.
Right.
Like no human has ever told me that that's even possible. And like,
right.
and then in August, we made as much money as one of our salaries in 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like you can't process it until you just make it happen. Mm-hmm. And like, you see all these other people do it and then you do it and you're like, is that really me doing that? That can't be me doing that.
Yes. It's a lot of second guessing. Like, okay, maybe this was a fluke. Everyone's going to quit tomorrow. Like I had a lot of that stuff going on. But it was the reality to where like I was able to quit my job at that point.
So you quit your job after when the membership hit this 300 mark. That's about when you stopped like working.
I quit going into the 2018 school year because it was around September that I hit 300. So when I was at around 270, I was able to realize that, hey, I can actually do this as a job instead.
Like if I can do this part-time,
right?
How much can I make full-time?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but I like how you were telling us a little while ago before we started the recorded section that you were still kind of going into school and like doing some substituting, right?
Yeah. Yes, I worked contracts. So my boss is local and she would email me all the time asking, okay, well, can you come back for maternity leave or can you come back? We just have this small position. It's only 1 day a week. And so I did that here and there. But this year I actually officially told her like, okay, no, I'm not.
Leave me alone.
I can't say no. And she's the nicest lady. So I'm like, I just have to lay it out. I'm not going back.
Yeah, but like I'm thinking that somewhere in the back of your mind, you're like, well, I'll do this just in case.
That's one more foot in the door, just in case. I got to dust off the old resume someday.
Right, just in case everybody quits all at once.
And I'm totally not judging you because I get this. I mean, I understand.
Oh, yeah.
We talk to people. It's so funny because Jocelyn and I have this wide network of people we talk to on a daily basis, right? Mm-hmm. We'll talk, like this morning, I talked to a guy in Singapore who literally has nothing but 8 blog posts done, right? Mm-hmm. And I was helping him set up his membership, and I'm like, he's just like, what do I do next? So, but then I've also talked to guys that are running 7-figure companies today, right? But it's so funny because every single person at either end of the spectrum and in between, there's at least once a month where they're like, yeah, this has been a good ride.
Right.
It's been a good ride, guys, but today was a bad day and this was a bad week. And oh man, I'm just pretty sure the whole thing's coming tumbling. Mm-hmm. It's not even true. It's just a feeling and a part of being an entrepreneur. And I
think you grow up like thinking, okay, I have to work my butt off to make a little bit of money. So how am I?
Yes.
I mean, I work very hard, but not 40 hours a week. So I'm like, how is this possible? This must be a fluke. So it's that part of your brain that's like, no, this isn't happening. This isn't going to stay.
Right. It's not going to stick. That's what, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and like, it's all, and I love how you said it's all going to go away. That's right. The reason why Jocelyn and I switched to memberships and why we're so big on it is because we were doing one-off sales right at the beginning. We were doing courses, and Jocelyn would sell packs of things and like just one-off stuff. And like every month you really had to worry, like, is someone going to send me money for this thing? Right. But with a membership, what happens is, okay, let's say you get 100 members. Well, you can look over a 6-month period and say, well, the average person stays 5 months, right? So I can at least bank on the people that are here on average will be here 5 months from now, right? So you've got a runway. You've got like a nice little runway. So you can kind of you can put the thing on cruise control instead of constantly gunning the engine to make money, right?
Yes.
And it actually builds more security.
Yeah. It's nice to have that to look back on.
All right. So you're coming out of Flip Your Life Live. We hit the goal literally that you set for the event at the event. Okay. Yeah. And this is a bit of a turning point in the story because this is where you joined our All Access program, right? So this is where we started working together kind of like one-on-one, and we started saying, and this is when I first got to know you really, really well. And I was always like, man, this person, I just tell her to do. You would ask me something, and then like I would turn around the next day and you'd be like, okay, I did that. And I'm like, that should have took you a week. Like, what did you do? Like, did you clone yourself? Right.
Yeah.
So we started working together, and you set another goal. What was your next goal after 300?
It's 500.
500. And how fast did you want to hit that?
I wanted to hit that by December of that year. So 3 months later. So it was another lofty goal.
Right. You wanted you wanted 200 more members in 3 months.
I love your goal setting, Jennifer. You don't mess around.
No, you do not mess around.
Double it.
Yeah, but it's like acceleration, right? So like by Jan 1, 2019, I'm getting 500 members. Okay. What did we do, and did it work? Like, I'm like I know you got to the goal. Did you hit the goal?
Yes, I actually got 550 by end of November.
I totally forgot this. Okay, wait a minute. So you set a goal by January 1st, basically, to get 200 more members, and then we walk out of the conference on September 21st, and by November you had already got to 550.
Yes. Yeah, and I joined your guys' Voxer program at the conference, which I should have asked my husband first. I don't recommend not doing that. But
hey, listen, I'd say in hindsight, I think Clark's okay with it. He's good with it.
But you guys had said it's, this is first come, first serve, and I didn't want to miss out. So I bought it within like 10 minutes. And then I just kind of broke it to him in the hallway afterwards. But I mean, he's always been really supportive. So I knew he would be supportive of it. But that I think was one of my biggest changes, was having you guys on call, almost being able to ask you any question. And then Shane, you told me at the conference to email my people 3 times a week, which I almost threw up when you told me that, because that was so scary.
What were you doing before? How often were you emailing your list before?
Once a week to once every other week.
I'm here, just a little reminder, just a nudge. And Monday, Wednesday, I really wanted you to do it every day, but I compromised. Down to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And how much of a difference did that really make? It made a huge difference.
I went up 250 members in 2 months. So
it's unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And let me guess, nobody was furious. Nobody hated you for life or anything like that, right?
Yeah, and I totally thought I was going to get hate mail. I totally thought everybody was going to spread rumors that I'm this salesy person in our speech world. And, I don't know why I was so nervous about it, but yeah, it didn't happen.
And did everyone unsubscribe? Did it affect your numbers in any way at all?
No, actually my unsubscribe rate stayed the same. My open rate stayed the same. So
Yep. Yeah. Because you're delivering real value, and it's awesome that you're delivering it more frequently, Right. And it's just like, the baseball analogy, the more at-bats, the more chances you're going to hit the ball, right? I remember when I broke it to Jocelyn one day. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty much going to email our list every day for the rest of our life. And she looked at me like,
go into panic mode. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Like, why do they want to hear from us every single day?
Right.
like you're going to drive our email subscribers down to 0, right? But the same thing happened. Like, nothing really was impacted from unsubscribes or opens. And people just bought more stuff because it's not like you're just writing them randomly. Like, you're thinking out how to serve them.
begging them to buy something every single day.
No, you're not
Right.
doing that.
That's not the point.
Yeah, some of my emails are just, how you doing today?
Right.
Reply, like, talk, let me know, and I'd like to, I open conversations. I talk about new products. We talk about blog posts and podcasts. Like there's plenty to talk about, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter. So that is the best example ever. I'm so glad you said that out loud, because everyone listening to the podcast right now who is scared to death to email your list because one of your 45 people will quit, right? Your email list. No, you need to be talking to them all the time or they will forget you.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm not afraid of unsubscribes anymore. You guys kind of taught me that.
Yeah.
You're paying for them, so email them.
Yeah, our philosophy is buy or unsubscribe. That's our philosophy with every person on our email list. Like, look, you're eventually going to buy or you're eventually going to leave anyway, so we might as well speed up the process and talk to you every day, right?
Yes.
If it's going to take me 7 emails to sell you, I want to get 7 emails in the next 7 days and see if I can sell you. Or if it's going to take you 7 emails to quit, we need to know. Nothing lukewarm. Let's do this.
And I think I got over the whole like vanity metric of my email list being a certain number. Like I love cleaning out my list now because it's people I don't have to pay for versus before I just wanted to have a big list because that's what was important, but it wasn't.
I met a guy one time at a conference and we were talking to each other and we were when you start talking to people, they always want to know what you make a month and they always want to know how big your email list is and all this nonsense, right? So it's kind of like a measuring contest.
It's had a lot of really awkward conversations in event hallway.
Yes, yeah, we met a guy one time, shook his hand, and he literally said, "What's your monthly recurring revenue?" I'm like, I've not even told you my last name.
We just met you like 2 minutes ago.
Right. Anyway, this was a conversation of someone that I kind of knew, and we kind of talked online, and there was like some familiarity. So it was like not as awkward to be like, "Hey, what's your email list up to?" You know what I'm saying? And we were talking about email marketing. So the dude had 400,000 emails.
Wow.
That is a lot of emails, right? Like over the years, he collected 400,000 emails, but his open rate was only like 1 or 2%.
Oh, wow.
So but that's not what he led with. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, look at my email list. I got 400,000 emails.
Right.
Bro, 1,000 people are reading your email, or like 4,000 people read them. That's fine. That's great. But like, what if you had, 40,000 and you had a 20% open rate, like more people would be paying attention to you. So it's funny you say that, but like, I love your mentality on the email list. That's exactly the healthy way that you should look at your email list. It's nothing personal. They either want your thing or they don't want your thing. They're on the ship or they're off the ship. And that's cool. That's how it should be. Now so you hit 550 people, right? This is where things get a little serious because we're going to start talking like crazy numbers now at this point. Like this is kind of the place where we usually tell people it's time to shoot for 1,000 members, right?
Yes.
Which when you really think about have you ever been to a high school football game, right? There's probably about 1,000 people at a normal Friday night high school football game where we live, right? And then all of a sudden, if you look around and you're at this high school football game, you got 1,000 people, or like a big movie theater, right? For people who maybe go to the movies. Maybe there's 1,000, maybe there's 500 to 1,000 people at your church, right? Like think of what 1,000 people looks like. And now we're going to try to get 1,000 of those people to give us money every single month. Okay. Yeah. That's crazy when you think about that kind of number. When you start saying, okay, that goal has 4 digits in it, right? Like not $1,000, 1,000 humans that say, I'm willing to part with my hard-earned cash to give it to you because you are providing value for me. So how did that goal feel when you first started thinking about it?
Oh, it was just it's super scary because the other ones were in the hundreds. And for some reason, like you said, that 4 digit makes it seem so impossible. So it was kind of like, I was almost preparing in my head, well, it's a good goal, but if you don't make it, it's okay.
It's like a moonshot. If we aim for the moon, we just we can get in the upper atmosphere. That's still pretty impressive.
Right. Yeah. I'll shoot for 1,000. And if I get 700, I'll be okay with it. Even though I knew in my head I would not be okay with that.
Right. So what was different about this time? So, you're sitting there at 500 and something, and what are you telling yourself? Okay, to get to 1,000, I'm going to do what? Like
what was your first initial thought? Was it just do more? Or was it just do, like something,
I think
brand new or what?
Reprioritize all my tasks because I remember talking to you guys one time, and I was like, answering all my emails and doing all those little tasks. So I had to reprioritize what I was actually going to hire out versus what I was going to do myself.
Yes.
And so I kind of went through all my tasks and really thought to myself, do I absolutely have to do this? Because there was a lot of stuff that I didn't have to do, but I'm totally that perfectionist that thinks, well, I am the only one that can do it right.
I have no idea what that might be.
I know. I whenever you talk about that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally with her on this one. So reprioritizing those tasks and then just focusing on marketing and doing more ads and upping my marketing budget, and then just kind of running by all my ideas by you guys, because I have a lot of ideas and I jump right into all of my ideas at once instead of which one's going to be best for my business. So I have to prioritize which one. I had to just literally each quarter I sat down, okay, what tasks am I going to do? What goals am I going to reach? And
what are you not going to do? That's one of the conversations.
Yes.
I can remember having to do a lot. Like you would come to me and be like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, Jennifer, last week, the other thing worked perfect. Do it again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's so hard when you do get to this level. But when you get to a level where you realize you can do anything, really, you want to do everything. And you just can't do it. We actually had, right after this year's live event, we had our executive assistant step down. She was also a nurse, and she really loves nursing, so she went back to nursing full time. And we were like, that's on your heart. Do it. That's for you. But like, it was funny. Like we instead of hiring someone immediately, Jocelyn and I have been meeting this fourth quarter, and we've been planning a hiring strategy for next year to go really slow and really get people on the bus that are on our bus, right? Like. They're all in. They want Flip Lifestyle to prosper. They want the community to prosper. We wanted to slow down the process. But to do that, we had to look at all the things we were doing that our executive assistant was doing for us, and she managed our contractors and all this stuff. And we wrote down, like, is this really necessary? Like, how did this balloon up? Why are we doing this? And we started scratching things off of the list.
Yeah.
And we got it down to a 1-page sheet of paper with about 11 bullet points on it.
That's impressive.
And we just stopped doing all the other things.
And we basically just said to ourselves, if we can just do these things,
the business will grow.
Business grow.
And it has, right? In the fourth quarter, we are actually growing now with this plan, even though all that other stuff we're not doing anymore, right?
Yeah.
So saying no to all the other things lets the new stuff come in.
Right. And it's so easy to get sucked into all the new things. All these, all of my friends who sell on TPT are really growing on Instagram. So I felt the need to do that. And I felt the need to do all these other things that weren't working for me. And when I sat down and looked at my stats, my Facebook posts and my Pinterest stuff I was getting tens of thousands of people to my site from that. And I got so I was like, well, Instagram needs to be cut because
what you broke up there a little bit. What did you say?
Oh, I said, I had to really narrow down what was important, like with social media and everything, and what was not important. So when I looked at my statistics to see which social media was actually important, I found that I was getting tens of thousands of people of traffic from Pinterest in the past year from Instagram.
Wow. So Pinterest was clearly winning. There was no reason just to do Instagram because everybody else was doing it.
Right. And that I felt that need to do it because everybody else was doing it. And then I haven't posted on Instagram for a long time, and it hasn't affected my business at all.
That's amazing. Yeah. Saying no is critical. So like, all right. All right. So when, I'm going to spoiler alert to everyone listening. So Jennifer hit 1,000 members. When did you hit 1,000 members?
October, end of October.
So right after Flip Your Life Live 2019.
Yes.
Which was awesome. And we got to see you guys there. I got to sit right beside Jennifer at dinner, at the VIP dinner. And Clark. So you hit 1,000 members. That is mind-boggling. That is absolutely mind-boggling. Like, I want you to, first I want to brag on you a little bit. Like, this really is rare air. I don't want anyone out there to think that Shane and Jocelyn are saying I can get to 1,000 members, because not everyone will get to 1,000 members. Now, 100 people paying you $50 a month will make you $60,000 a year. You don't have to get 1,000 members either to have a really, really good online business. But you need to look in the mirror and say, this is awesome. This is impressive. This is something that not everyone will do. This is like the example that everyone else should strive for, because you built a business with 1,000 monthly customers that are, you probably have clients in every state almost, right? Like your lesson plans are being taught to hundreds, if not thousands of kids, like over the lifetime of their use, right?
Yeah.
And you're making a real impact in the world, all because you wanted to start a safety net to your third-party marketplace job.
I know. It's crazy to think that that's how it started, because it's like life-changing.
So like, how did that feel when you hit the 1,000? Like when you just looked over at your husband and you're like, I have 1,000 people on my membership site.
I think he was more excited and I was more shocked, because it was always this lofty goal in my head that was like, well, it probably will never happen. So when I actually like hit that number, it just was shocking and exciting. And you kind of feel like, okay, this isn't going to just fall apart on me. I mean, there are still some days that I think that, but
right,
it just, of course it comes back. But yeah, it was just kind of amazing that I hit it, because I never thought that would even happen.
How does this impact, how does success like impact your future goals? Like now, like how, like what's your goal now? Like, what do you want to get to?
One thing is that you did inspire your husband to start his own thing, right?
Yes. So he's been kind of watching me do this thing. And I kind of felt bad in the beginning, because he's always been an entrepreneur since we met in high school. So he always talked about owning his own business, even when we were in high school. And then I kind of like fell into this owning my own business thing through TPT, and then it blossomed. And so he's now starting his own business, his own online journey. And
why did you feel bad? Like, why did you feel bad? Like, I mean,
because I felt like I was taking his dream, because I never wanted to own my own business until I started doing it. And then I fell in love with it. But it never was a dream of mine in high school. And he has been talking about it forever. So it's almost like I had this business that was doing well, and he was still looking for his. So,
well, I can kind of relate to that, because when we first started, mine was the one who kind of took hold.
Yes.
And, Shane was doing like 10 other websites trying to make one of them work. And I'm head down, like trying to make this one thing work.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think this might be a common thing that couples who are kind of into entrepreneurship, or at least like in it together, like maybe one's doing it and one's not, like, I think there is a tug of war there. Cause like, like, let's be realistic. We're all proud of our spouses, but there's also like, you're a human, and like, you see them do something and there's like kind of a, I want to do that. Right. Or I did something, I feel bad that I did it and they didn't. Like I mean, I think this is a totally normal thing that you went through.
And he's been supportive and, loved this the whole way through, and, told me to spend the money and go to the conferences and spend the money and get so he's been super supportive throughout the whole thing. But I'm just really excited for him now, because he's starting his own business, working through it. And I keep telling him, because he's been comparing himself to me a little bit. Well, you have this many on your email list, and how do
never compare yourself to your wife, gentlemen, out there. I'm telling you right now, because that is a bad plan that will not end well.
Yes, and it's like I remind him that when I started on TPT, my first follower called me, or I got my first follower on TPT, and it was a month into my journey. And my mom, I was so that follower, and my mom called me and was like, I followed you. Like,
oh no. That's amazing. Yeah.
So I remind him that I started low.
That's another epic part of the story. So let's listen to how. All right, I'm going to recap the timeline one more time here. Then we're going to talk about your goals. So like in 2014, you start on Teachers Pay Teachers. You don't even get a follower for a month.
Nope.
When you do.
And when you do, it was your mom.
It was my mom. I recently told her that how disappointed I was when she called me.
But you were so excited it kept you going in the moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then 3 years later, you finally launch a membership site of your own. You get 15 members. 5 months later to 100. And then you go all the way to 2018 to 300. But then a month and a half later, 500. And then a year later, you're at 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you're starting to see like some serious acceleration. So like, what's next? Like, what's your goals? Like, where do you see this thing? Like, what do you do? And like, we talked before we got on the air here, we were talking to Jennifer a little bit, and you were kind of like, I don't know. It's like now, it's like, what do you do to kind of top yourself now? And like, how does would it feel better? Would it not feel better? Should I just like chill here and keep making 1,000 members a month?
Yeah.
Like you're kind of a victim of your own success at this point, because it's like, where do you go from here?
Yeah. It's, even seeing that, okay, 1,500s for some reason sounds really lofty of a goal to me. So it's always going to be there of, okay, what do I do next? And can I really get that? But yeah, 1,500 is my next goal for my membership. And then I just started a course too, because that was one of your tasks from me last year. It was another task that I was like, oh no, he said I have to do it, so I have to do it. Was starting a course to teach people how to sell on TPT.
Yes.
So I'm diving into that a little bit more now.
Awesome.
That I have a little bit more time. Yeah.
Yep. I think the root of that goal, I remember when we started talking about that course and you had some free time. Normally we don't split our focus, but I remember you at this point you were like, I got some free time here. Should I do this? Right.
Yeah.
And like you made this course because that is an impact project.
Right.
And I think that's where you go when you start making a lot of money. You've got to start thinking about, well, how am I really impacting other people? How am I making, like if you could help a bunch of other teachers sell on Teachers Pay Teachers and they can make $500 a month in that third-party marketplace. Well, what if 100 people can pay their car payment and you help them do that? You just basically freed up that family's, margin in their budget to do something else with that money, maybe pay for their kids' college, right? So like usually when you start really making it, people keep setting goals, money. I've fallen into this trap a lot. Like, well, I'm going to go make this much. And I'm going to go make this much. And like, you kind of have to step back and say, once you get a certain amount of money, that's enough. And it's like the impact is where you go next. Like, of course, we always want our money to grow and we want our memberships to grow because that helps us fuel the impact. But I can feel you kind of thinking in that way now, Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like when I see just being in the teacher world, when I see people having, a babysitting job over the summer, waitressing over the summer, because it's like, it hurts because I'm like, there's so much out there and it's not as hard as, it's hard in a different way, but I think waitressing and babysitting is way harder personally.
Yeah, right. It's simple, not easy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So it's like, I just want to tell people like, there's another way. So, yeah.
Yes. And I think, for us, this point too, is where you start just kind of being like, okay, what is next? The next level is a little bit scary. I don't know for you, but for me, it's very scary because at this point is where you have to start looking at, okay, do I hire people? What does that look like? And that's sort of,
do I want to manage people, right? And all that good stuff.
Right.
And like, how am I going to manage them? How am I going to lead them? Like, that's a whole other skill set, like once you figure out the main entrepreneurial skill set, then there's a whole other skill set that I personally have never really been taught,
Yes.
And I love what you said about the emails, because it's like that book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. What got you to launch on Teachers Pay Teachers and make some money wouldn't get you to the 15 members when you launched there. That's why you had to come over to us, right? And then what got you from, 300 to 500, you had to bust through a fear of your own of emailing all those people. Like you had to do something different.
Yes.
And you're constantly always trying to do something different. That's what's really going to get you to the next level, Yeah. You have to take a chance.
Yeah, so I have a couple more things that I want to ask you. We're running out of time, but I've got a couple of things. The first thing is, what do you think the role of going to events? How has that helped you, as you've gone along?
Oh, huge. I think I wouldn't even be close to where I am without events. I mean, I started out going to the TPT events in the summers, and that's where I found some of my best friends, which is weird because I only see them once a year. But I run a lot of stuff by them. It's our own mastermind of online business people, because I feel like they're the only people who truly get you, because other people are like, oh, that's nice, you sell some stuff online. And they don't get it. And then going to your guys' event was a huge bump in my business, because I wouldn't have met you guys. I wouldn't have signed up for your Voxer program. I wouldn't have met a bunch of my other friends that I now have from the Flip Your Life community. So I think it's invaluable, really. I can't say it enough to go to events.
And what about just community in general? That was one of our goals when we started our business. Everyone sells courses, when we were looking at how we wanted to teach and how we wanted to help families do this, one of the big things that we lacked was community. Like, we had nobody to talk to, right?
Yes.
We went to some live events and we finally got a network of people to talk to.
Very small one.
A very small one. But we were like, when we built this, we had a course, but we were like, we had a course and we were the leaders and we were teaching it, but we were like, this isn't right. Like, something's missing. And we think it's community. We think community is the most important part of your journey. The people in our community, it's either the forums or live events or our member calls, like even more than courses. That's where people seem to get a lot of the value from. And how important is community to be an entrepreneur, especially one that works at home, right?
Oh yeah, it's so important because there's so many times that I would get discouraged about something, or I wasn't sure if it was the right move, and to have people who understand what you are doing to talk to and throw ideas at and get their opinions on is so big, because it just, I can't talk to people who don't understand it because they don't truly understand what I'm doing.
Yes.
So just having people to throw ideas at and to feed off of and create ideas. My friends and I will just start talking about something random, and I'll come up with all these ideas just because us talking through things.
Yes. And you'll actually solve the problem without even needing to find a course or anything else. It's just like, oh, you did that? Well, I can do that too, right?
Right, exactly. Yes.
I love that. That has been just a critical part of our journey too. The other thing that I wanted to kind of ask you about or get you to comment on, so, you know, if I'm out there listening to this podcast, you know, maybe I've been listening for years and, you know, I have a couple of social media accounts. I have one follower, which is my mom, you know.
I started in 2014, you know.
Yeah, like if I'm that person out there, what do you say to that person to let them know that this is real and they can do it? Like, what kind of encouragement can you offer to people who are like, you know, 1,000 members, that sounds crazy. Like, there's no way I could ever do that.
I think just keep going and keep doing the next task. Because like I said, if you look at the end of the journey, it seems impossible and you can get so overwhelmed with things. But to just keep going to the next thing that you need to do to get it done, and to not get discouraged and look at every little failure as a stepping stone, because I still have days where I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm going to shut down the membership because nobody likes it. And, you know, and that could be from one person canceling and not leaving nice feedback. So, but just to get over that and move on to the next thing and to not get discouraged. Because I feel like everybody could do this if they just didn't give up when something hard happened. Oh,
that is such good advice. Like, and like the cancellation thing is that's the one thing you've got to get used to in this business. Is the cancellations, because if you just sell a course, they go away, right? But like if you are serving a community of people, you know, there's going to be some people that aren't happy sometimes, and but you have to remember 90% of them every month are totally happy and didn't say anything. They're the silent majority that really love being a part of what you've created. It's just that one dude. Right? It's that one girl that sent in a message and is like, oh man, why is it got to do that? You know? But you can't please everybody, and that's part of the game. And once you get past that, it's smooth sailing after that. Right, exactly. All right, I've got one more thing to say. I know we keep saying that, but here's what I love about this that brings this whole story full circle. So you start in 2014, you make some money on Teachers Pay Teachers, you start this membership as a little safety valve. And lo and behold, this third-party marketplace is changing their entire business model this year, right? Like we were talking about this because I sell on Teachers Pay Teachers too, and they're about to change. It's going to be like a membership site, and they're going to try to push it to schools, but they're basically now building their new business model off the backs of everyone uploading their stuff. And guess who's going to get left out in that? Yeah, the people who created all the content over the last 5 or 6 years, right? But luckily, Jennifer, me and you, we've got websites that are memberships. Yes. We don't care what Teachers Pay Teachers does, right? Right. It's such a comfort knowing that I have full control of my own business. Well, listen, Jennifer, you know that we are your biggest fans, and it is so impressive what you've done. And I really do feel privileged that I got to kind of walk beside you through most of it and like just see you do it. Like, I don't want anyone to even remotely give me or Jocelyn any credit for this. Like, we provided a path, but you walked the path and you overcame the obstacles on the path. And it was your goal and your mission. And it was you not stopping when those bad things happen. And it's just, if anyone is listening to this right now, this is the model. This is the example that you should follow. It might not happen overnight. Jennifer started in 2014. It is now 2020. But she made it and she did it, and she's excelling in a way that probably 99% of people maybe never will. But if you could get to half of what she's done, it would be amazing. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being so transparent. Thank you for being an amazing member of our community. I don't have time to brag on you anymore, but you're also very generous and really have helped a lot of other people, like not only inspiring them, but talking to them, masterminding with them in the community. And you really, really are like one of our favorite people in the world. And we really appreciate you for sharing your story on the podcast today.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Like I said before, I do credit a lot of it to you too. Having you guys as my cheerleaders and having everything laid out in the community and the membership has been a big reason why I'm where I am. So I appreciate you guys just as much.
Wow, guys, what a great and inspirational story from Jennifer Bradley today. Jennifer really is one of the coolest people that we've ever met in the community. She's just an amazing action taker. And that really is the secret to her success. She took action when things were going good. She took action when things were going bad. She kept taking the next step. And that's what you have to do. If you're ever going to make your online dream a reality, you've got to take your next step. We want to help you take that next step inside of the Flip Your Life community. We have all the training that you need to learn how to start, build, and grow an online business. We have a huge community filled with people just like Jennifer to help you and cheer you on and hold you accountable and mastermind with you and answer your questions inside of our community forums. And Jocelyn and I do member calls every single month to help you take your next steps, answer your questions, and succeed in your online business. 2020 is your year. This is the start of a new year. This is the start of a new decade. This could be the start of a new path for your family's future. If you would like to learn more about the Flip Your Life community, go to flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife. That's FLIPPED lifestyle.com/FLIPYOURLIFE. flippedlifestyle.com/flipyourlife. And you can find free resources over at flippedlifestyle.com. All right, guys, that is all the time we have for this week. But before we close our show, we always like to close with a Bible verse. Jocelyn and I get a lot of our inspiration and motivation in life and in business from the Bible. We want to share a great Bible verse with you. Pick this Bible verse because it is a new year. It is 2020. It is time to get started on new things. So the Bible verse this week on the Flip Lifestyle Podcast is Isaiah 43:19. In the Bible, it says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." So we encourage you, take advantage of this new start, this new year. Make a new thing happen for you and your family. We'll be right here to help you do it every step of the way. So until next time, get out there, guys. Take action. Do whatever it takes to flip your life.
Bye.
Oh, I'm so glad you shared this story. Like, do you know how inspirational this is?
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to be jacked up all day, and I know this is going to be like, I'm probably just going to like start an ad for this and run it all year next year and let people hear this. Like, this is exactly what you're supposed to do to make it. So
yeah, thanks for firing him up.
Oh yeah, no problem.
It's gonna be me who has to like deal with it for the rest of the day.
Yes, you guys are like Clark and I'm totally like you, Jocelyn, and Clark is like Shane completely.
we get excited.
Yes.